Hello and welcome to the Record Club, brought to you by Record Store Day, the official charts and National Album Day, proudly in association with Bowes and Wilkins. My name is Jess Izzat. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to say that our guest this evening is Girli to talk all about her new album, Matriarchy. If you're new here, we're going to be spending the next half an hour or so talking to Girli about the brilliant new record, and then we'll be putting forward some of your questions about the album for her to answer. So if you want to get involved, drop us a question in the comments section below. I'll be asking a selection of those in the second half of our chat. And on top of that, one lucky person who sends in a question today is going to be randomly selected to win a pair of Bowes and Wilkins PX7 over-ear noise-cancelling headphones, season 2. And obviously, it's a wicked prize, especially to listen to the album too. So do not miss out. Get your questions to us. If you haven't already got yourself a copy of the album, head to your local record store once our chat with Girli is over. Yeah, I've got mine in my hands, donning here. But first, let's get straight into this week's Record Club. Hello to Girli, welcome.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
How are you? Whereabouts are you in the world?
I'm good. I'm in the very glamorous backstage area of the Globe in Cardiff. It's night one on my UK and European Matriarchy tour, and yeah, I feel like it's very apt, that we're doing this interview, and I'm just like, oh, just backstage, that's the vibes.
Night one, what's the feeling like? Because you've got like the whole of the rest of it ahead of you.
Yeah, well, I think, it's the third leg of the Matriarchy tour because I started in the US in February and then I went to Australia in April, which was amazing. So yeah, this is like the home run, I guess, and then Europe. But yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I love touring. I feel like a lot of artists don't enjoy touring, which I get because it's very tiring. And it's very like emotionally and physically exhausting, but I just live for it. I love shows. I love traveling. I feel like I love being in like different places every day. That's very my vibe. And
actually, yeah, what's for someone who does enjoy it so much, what is a top tip or like top tips to enjoying touring?
For me, it was getting my like packing and like bag situation perfect. I know this sounds so like you probably expected me to be like, so like when you're performing, rocking out the crowds, and I'm like, no, my suitcase. But I don't know. I think for me, like it's funny because I have OCD, so I need everything to sort of be in order, but at the same time, I also love being in different places every day. It's sort of this like opposite vibe. It's sort of yeah, it's strange. So for me, like all the world around me is crazy and different, and I'm in different hotels every day and different crowds and venues, but there are certain things that stay the same. So my skincare, like I have it all sorted and organized. I have my little packing cubes. I have my favorite like face masks that I do in the evening, and then I have my yoga mat and I do my yoga every morning, like certain things that like are grounding me while everything is crazy. But I'd say
but I feel like you're fully speaking my language with this. It's like you like open your suitcase and it's all like you've got all the things in exactly where you put it and like exactly where you want it in the order that you want to use it in. I get it.
Yeah. Oh my God, 100%. But I definitely say, I mean, the best thing for enjoying touring is having like a great crew, just having the best people around you, because it kind of makes it feel like, oh wow, I'm just on a big like sleepover trip with all my friends, like on a big vacay. Yeah, but I'd say organization and having your like favorite little moments, little things, and everyone in the crew has a different thing they go and search out in every city. So for me, like I love matcha, so I always find a matcha latte. That's like my thing.
We need the little reviews along the way. I feel like this is an addition to the Girli many strings to your bow that you have. We do actually start each week of the Record Club. I know we've been talking about touring, but each week on the Record Club, we like to kick things off with a question from one of the many amazing independent record stores from across the UK. And this week's question comes from Asahi in Edinburgh. And they have said, "Hi, Millie. It was great to have you perform in the shop on the release weekend of Matriarchy. We really got a feel for how personal this record is to you. How did it feel for you performing these emotive new tracks in such intimate settings?"
Oh my God, it was so special. I really loved like being able to see everyone's reactions and have them so close. That's kind of so it still feels surreal because I'm used to my shows have these sort of big like light shows and you can't really see the crowd. Obviously, you know, you can see them as like a mass of people vibing out, but you know, a lot of the time I'm like dancing around and like there's, you know, not a lot of time to actually see individual people's like expressions. And because these shows were really small, but they were also acoustic, which was really special. It just felt very, I got nervous and I don't really get nervous for shows, but I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to be so close to people. But yeah, I think the acoustic element too was so cool because I haven't done acoustic versions of most of my songs, which I think a lot of artists usually have like a couple acoustic numbers in a live show. I've never done that. And these really, that show, like I loved playing the shows at Asai. It really inspired me to add some acoustic numbers into the main show just to spice it up.
Which were the songs that you performed on this acoustic? Yeah, which ones were the ones that really like hit different on this acoustic tour?
I think playing the songs that I'd never played before from the album. I think, you know, I played this one called Overthinking, which acoustically was really fun because it's so different from the main track. You know, the track on the record is very grimesy sort of production, and the vocals are sort of very like ethereal and distorted, and then the acoustic is literally just stripping it so down. And it meant that I could really focus on the lyrics, and everyone in at the shows could also be like, oh my God, even people who had heard the song on the album were like, oh my gosh, this is like, this is kind of tasty. Like that song is very stream of consciousness. Like, yeah, I don't, this is how it is. This is everything I'm thinking. So that was really cool. And people really enjoyed that one.
I know that we go way back. Obviously, I have to shout out everyone at Asai in Edinburgh. Thank you so much for your question. I know that we go way back in terms of me knowing you and your music and getting to play it on the radio, which has always been such a pleasure. And I feel like everything you're saying, like you said, it's a stream of consciousness, and it's like your lyrics and your words are your like inside feeling, and then your exterior, you've got this loud exterior, and so therefore the sonics and like I guess the color palette and like everything is also loud. How do you write your songs? Do you write them acoustically and then do they turn into these productions? Talk to me about that.
I think I would love to be an artist who can sit down at a piano and be like, I don't know, Stevie Nicks style, just Joni Mitchell, like, or you know, on my little acoustic in the mountains and bop out an album. But I think I've just had to come to terms with the fact that I'm such a production girl. Like I really get so inspired when the song is already coming together. I find it quite difficult to write songs without having the flesh of what the production is going to sound like already. Just because I think for me, like, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of songwriters, I what melodies and ideas come out of my mouth will drastically change, even just if the same synth line is put through a different plugin and that sound has a different feel. Like my whole being, everything that I'm writing will shift. I'm very sensitive to different production, and so I think whenever I do, and I have written songs to just guitar or just piano, but those songs tend to be really a different vibe. And I think sort of subconsciously I do end up writing some kind of like country vibe, even though I don't like intend to. So yeah, I always write my songs with producers, because with a producer, they're like, you know, making, you know, co-producing the song, because that's what makes a girly track.
Has there been a surprising fan favorite since the release of this album? Obviously, you've been touring it, so you must be hearing and seeing the reaction.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I don't know if it's that surprising actually, but a lot of people, a lot of fans love a song called Out of Breath, which I think I've loved it, but I didn't realize other people would respond in that way. And I noticed that even sort of like friends or you know, people who, obviously at the in-stores, I'm chatting to people, I'm signing records, they're telling me what they like, or online people are messaging me and saying, even though I just had some friends like reach out and be like, Out of Breath, like that one. And I think that song maybe surprised me a bit that it connected with people, because it's about my experience with the music industry and with struggling with ambition and perfectionism. And I guess a lot of the time I feel quite isolated in those feelings. So it was cool to see, oh, actually, I'm not alone. A lot of people feel that way. Yeah, that was really cool.
Off the back of that, we must mention, like, this is all just so impressive as an independent artist getting this out. Like, I mean, just everything from the artwork, the visuals, obviously, all the tunes are bangers. Yeah, talk to me about the artwork as well, because I've been going through the record, and obviously everyone at home, go get your own copy, especially if you're seeing Girli on tour soon, because we've got this whole book inside as well, which I love, because I love when I get the actual lyrics. But
Yes.
there's like so much art in here, and it's quite literally framed as art, like we're in a museum, which I'm just obsessed with all of it. You're gonna have to get your own copy to see all of it. But talk to me about the inspo on this.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm also really glad that you said, oh, it's like we're in a museum or an art gallery, because I'm like, yes, that was the intention. But I was like, are people gonna look at this and think, what is this yellow
Yeah.
thing? I don't know, but no, I'm glad you got that. Yeah, I mean, a big visual concept of the album was the idea of image, and a lot of the songs are about identity and learning to love oneself, or, you know, sort of grappling with mental health issues and relationships, and all this stuff kind of links how you see yourself, really. And you know, a lot of it was about love and self-worth in that way, but also a lot of the songs were about queer identity and sort of coming in, yeah, into your own. So when I wrote the song Matriarchy, and then I thought I want to call the album Matriarchy, I was already doing this series on TikTok called Herstory, and I've been doing it for a while, a few years, which was sort of spotlighting women from history whose stories have been forgotten. And then I started doing one which was like Queer Story, which was like, oh, you know, LGBTQ plus people from history who, you know, you need to know about, you might not know about. And I thought, oh, maybe there's like a connection between the idea of like image, and then people who, you know, women and queer people and people who are marginalized, and the fact that our images and stories in history have been erased or told for us. And I found myself going to some art galleries and being like, there's just men everywhere, or there's like all the paintings are done by men, cishet men. And I was like, what? Like, where are all the paintings by women, by queer people of queer people? Where are all the paintings by people of color? Like, you know, it's very, very white male. And I was like, oh, what if I have this picture frame, and then the whole idea is like all the songs, like all of the records, like the booklet words, is like you're in an art gallery, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're taking back your own image, and you're putting it up in your own gallery. You're like reclaiming it, and yeah, that was the
I love
idea.
it. Honestly, look, I can see questions coming through. I have some more of my own first, but don't be late to get your questions to us. I'm going to be getting to them very, very soon. Look, Girly, we go way back, like I've mentioned, and I know that you've been flying the flag for LGBTQI plus the community, just being a voice for it, being super strong and proud in your music and on your socials, like you mentioned. I've recently noticed there are a few others also being very vocal about it. Also, programs like I Kissed a Girl on the BBC out as well, which is
Love
like
it.
honestly iconic. How does it feel to have this wave happen now? And does it feel progressive? Is it good? Is it positive?
Oh my God, yeah. I Kissed a Girl is like me and my girlfriend's favorite show, and actually we were watching it like a few episodes ago, and my one of my songs came on it, and I like freaked out because I was like, oh my God, this is the crossover I needed. Um, I think it's amazing. I mean, it's so funny. My mum sent me a picture of like the newspaper she reads every day, and it said there was an article about like this summer is going to be like forget hot girl summer, this summer is big lesbian summer. And it was about all of the artists and like the movies like Love Lies Bleeding and the TV shows like I Kissed a Girl, like and how like artists like Chapel Roan and Renee Rapp are like really big now, and talking about how it really feels like something's happening. And my mum sent me a picture of that and said, this is good to know, because your Matriarchy album just came out. I was like, thanks, Mum. But yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, it feels like, wow, finally, because all this stuff has been happening in, the queer communities for decades, but the fact that this is in the mainstream is so great. I mean, it seems like small, but just to have like a trashy dating show, but it be for like queer women is like so feels revolutionary. It feels like, oh my God, like this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. Like I wish this existed, when I was a teenager or, a kid. Like it's so cool. And it feels like a great time. Obviously it's like there's so far to go, but representation is for me like where change really starts to happen. Because if you think like, oh, there might be like young queer people, not even young queer people of any age, who maybe aren't out yet or don't feel confident in themselves and their identity, and seeing themselves represented in movies and music and TV shows, like that's so important. That starts the feeling of, oh, okay, like I am proud of myself. Like, look, those people are.
It's so true. I feel like all of this has been so positive. I actually met someone from my school at the weekend that I hadn't seen since school, so a very long time ago. And they were with their partner, and I was like, well, our school wasn't really much of a place for coming out. Like we didn't have any queer people in our year, but it just shows like you need to be able to see it to have the
Fully.
confidence to feel safe with it. Right, I promised going to questions. Lydia on Record Store Days Facebook is asking, what was your favorite song to record on the album?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I think the one that was super fun was Nothing Hurts Like a Girl. I wrote that in LA with my friend Emma and my friend Kevin, and it was just, I went into the studio and I was like, it was me and Emma have been friends for a while, but it was the first time we'd written together. Um, and Emma's queer, and like I was saying, like, oh, I really want to write about how, like, you know, I've had breakups with men before and they were bad, but for me personally, my breakups with women have been so much worse. And I just kind of want to write like a song about that. And she was like, oh my God, I've had the same experience. Like, and we basically just kind of laughing, but also like trauma bonding over like how bad our breakups have been with women. And yeah, we decided, okay, we have to make a song about this, but it can't be like really really sad and depressing. It has to be like just dancing through the pain. And I was very inspired, you know, with that song to make that really, really poppy and gorgeous and like, I don't know, shiny. And I was listening to a lot of Kim Petras at the time, so I was like, okay, I want to make a song like you know, Kim Petras style. And yeah, I think we achieved it. That was really, really fun.
Oh, I love that Kim Petras is like a musical inspo for you, but I can fully see that. I literally saw the last tour and I was like, this is iconic. Rachel on the Record Club's Twitter saying, I love Happier Her as the final track on the album. Can you tell me about the inspo for this song?
Yes. Also, if you guys hear any singing in the background, it's the sound check happening downstairs. I'm very chew right now,
Yeah.
backstage. Yeah, Happier Her is a really special song on the album to me. I think I wrote that song actually, I think first, or that was really early on writing the album that I wrote that song, and it was basically me saying, right now I'm going through it, but one day there will be a happier version of myself. I will be a happier her. And I wanted to put it at the end of the album because I thought how perfect that this was me saying one day there will be a happier version of myself. And that was like me wanting, that was the way I was going to get through all this stuff. And then there ended up being a happier version of myself because when I finished the album, even just in the 6 months that I wrote it, so much had shifted for me personally, and I'd really learned to appreciate myself so much more and was in a really happy and healthier place than when I started writing it. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I am a happier her. And yeah, that song was I was listening to a lot of Casey Musgraves at the time. And so yeah, we were very inspired by the sort of like country pop girly vibe. That was me. Next, I'm going to make a country album. No,
Oh my God, come on.
That would be iconic. I don't know if
You
I'm
need to
going to do
do
that.
like a little like side project of country for us, just to,
Yeah.
you know, sprinkle it in. We also have Michael on the Record Club's Facebook who says, did you have any creative blocks with this being your second album, notoriously difficult second album, or did everything flow naturally?
I actually didn't know that the second album's notoriously hard, but that does make sense, I guess, because you're like, oh, I've done the first, how do I follow up? I didn't, and you know what, I've really struggled with creative blocks in my career, but for this album, I had this shift where I was like, I I was going into the studio a lot before I started writing it, and I was getting really bogged down with these feelings of like, I have to make a hit, I have to make a song that's going to blow up on TikTok. Um, I have to like the numbers have to be good. How do I make a song that's going to crack the algorithm, you know, and all these things that aren't important when you're making art, you know, when you're writing songs. Like, sure, those things are important later down the line, but essentially, like, I'm a songwriter, I want to make songs, and like you can't go into it with all of those thoughts, because for me anyway, they were blocking me making anything good because I was overthinking it so much. And I just started to write songs really that were fully like journal entries. I was like, you know what, I almost gave up in a sense. I was like, I can't be bothered to try and write a song that's going to be a hit or whatever. I just need to write songs because I'm going through it at the moment, and this is like my way of processing. And a lot of the songs on the record, like I wrote them and then thought, cool, that's never going to go out. I'm never going to listen to that again. That's like, I don't know. I was really, it's crazy like thinking about it now, because I remember some of the songs that are now my favorites, like Overthinking, Tokyo. Like I wrote them and then thought, okay, that was bad. And then like a few months later, listened to them again and thought, I love this. So yeah, that was a beautiful lesson in songwriting actually, because I was like, wow, the key is don't overthink it. Just do it. Yeah.
I guess that's where the authenticity comes in as well, right? And they do say that the ones that sort of like pour out of you because that's just how you're feeling are the ones that will also hit with other people as well. So yeah, it really does feel like we're listening to your diary, but I mean, I love it. And I also feel like half of it, I'm like listening to my own thoughts. I've said that on the radio before, but I'm just like, this is me. You're inside my brain. We have Seren on the Record Club's YouTube saying, "What song on the album are you most excited to play on tour?"
Oh my gosh. I'm really stoked to play Out of Breath because yeah, that has been a sort of surprise fan favorite. So I think that's going to be really, really fun. We open the show with Nothing Hurts Like a Girl, which is great. There's like a big, my drummer Sarah plays this big like intro vibe, and it's really, really fun. But Matriarchy is always like I get goosebumps every time I play it because the crowd singing back is so loud, and hearing hundreds of people sing F the patriarchy really loud is like so special. It's like healed my inner child, you know? So yeah, I love that.
And we have Trojan on Record Store Day's Twitter saying, "Who would you say are your biggest musical inspirations?"
Ooh, I think they've really changed a lot throughout my life. I mean, when I first realized I wanted to do music, it was definitely, I was inspired by a lot of the bands and artists that I grew up listening to. My dad was like a big Amy Winehouse fan, and I was really inspired by her lyricism and how honest and cheeky it was. But I also, you know, I grew up like when Lily Allen was really big, when Arctic Monkeys were really big, when MIA was really big, kind of all these like really badass kind of political artists whose lyrics were, you know, unashamed and
Could definitely still hear a little bit. Those are the paving stones for
yeah,
Girli, right? Yeah.
yeah, they were the paving stones. And then definitely like as I've gone older and my sounds evolved, you know, I'm just such a huge like fan of pop music and all of the different subgenres of pop. And so, you know, yeah, when I was making this album, a lot of the inspiration was Casey Musgraves, and I was listening to a lot of Muna, and I love Phoebe Bridgers and Boy Genius, and 070 Shake is like a current obsession, and yeah, like all kinds really. Tuvalu has been like a big one for a long time. Troye Sivan, so many. Chapel Roan, like, you know, so many. I think Chapel Roan, I only came onto her music after I finished writing the album actually, but you know, there's so many artists, and interestingly enough, most of the artists that inspire me are other women or other queer artists, which is cool.
Oh, we love that little insight into your playlist.
Yeah.
We well, Girly, thank you so much for joining us. That's actually all we have time for. Make sure to treat yourself at home with a physical copy of Matriarchy out now. Once this episode, now that this episode is over, pick one up from your local record store. Also excited to announce that we have a winner of this week's Bowers and Wilkins wireless headphones prize. That winner is Seren on the Record Club's YouTube. Make sure to slide into the Record Club's DMs. We'll get those headphones to you. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us and sending in those questions. This plus all previous episodes are available to watch back on our Spotify or our YouTube. I'm going to see you for the next episode of the Record Club. Girly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks everyone for your lovely questions.